I came to the faith in a more conscious way. And that was when I was working overseas in a faraway country, and it was dark and cold. And it was the first time in my life that I thought I should decide to go to Mass for myself, because before that point, I went to Mass every Sunday because it was a family obligation. But 12 years later, here was this Sunday when I woke up in this foreign land, and I had to decide for myself to go to Mass for the first time. And I said, well, look, I'll do a bargain with God. I said, if I go and take a walk around the town, if I come across a church, if it happens to have Mass starting, I'll go to Mass. And it so happened that I did. I landed in a church. It happened to be the cathedral, which I wasn't aware that it was a cathedral. I went in there and I sat at the back pew. There was a particular line in the Mass that really struck me, and I was overwhelmed by a sense of sadness, of deep sorrow. It just welled up. And it was all of a sudden like I became very aware of the present moment, and you know, it certainly stopped any daydreaming I was having. I just woke up and I had this jolting realization that what was happening on that altar was a sacrifice. It was the first time it's ever occurred to me that there was a sacrifice going on there, and that sacrifice had immense importance to me and to everyone. And from that point on, I was just thirsty to know everything about the altar and what was happening on the altar and what that sacrifice meant. My cultural identity, I first identified it to my Chinese heritage, because that's my upbringing and that's where I was taught and educated in my family home. I guess me and my sisters were all brought up in a very traditional Chinese culture. We were imbued with, you know, the Chinese arts and philosophy and all of that, and martial arts was a big aspect of that Chinese culture. I've been involved in a martial arts school, which is my father's school since I was born, and that's always been a big part of my life. But later on, when I came to a greater understanding of the Catholic faith, there seemed to me to be some sort of identity tension or identity crisis between those two things, because whilst my faith was very important to me and it was a large part of my identity, so was my Chinese culture. And it seemed to me at one point that there were some opposing elements, or elements that didn't entirely fit together well between the Chinese culture and, you know, Christian doctrine, or what I was taught of it. And that was always a struggle over the past, you know, 10 years in my adult life, to try to come to a resolution between those things. For me, the discovery of the connecting point between martial arts and the faith comes from the philosophy that lies behind Chinese martial arts. And I speak specifically of the Taoist philosophy. Chinese martial arts is based on this philosophy, which has a basic tenet that the universe and the metaphysical order of things is really a whole unity. And within that unity is variety. Faith actually precedes life. It precedes my own life, and I was actually made for faith. And my culture and everything that's good in it is in a way made for faith as well. I believe that culture, if it's authentic, is an expression of the human aspiration for all the good, truth and beauty in human life, and it's expression of that in a social environment. The faith is actually something that affirms and embraces all of human truth, goodness and beauty. So there's no opposition with that. I can now look at my Chinese culture and look at all those things that are true, good and beautiful, and know that the faith affirms that, and that the faith actually consolidates it, it actually fulfills it, because the human truth, good and beauty is an aspiration for the infinite truth, good and beauty, which is God.